So, Boniface, you're very much welcome. Welcome to Seniors Hub.
Asante sana.
Did you manage to go around a bit?
No, I can't.
You came
I'm going to do
late.
this after.
Yeah, but you can see this is, I think probably, this is very much closer to probably what you did at Power Art.
Power 254, yeah, there's a vibe to it.
Yeah,
I love the graffiti.
Yeah, graffiti, art, and stuff like that. So this is Seniors Hub. We are an art innovation hub. So we have a lot of youth here who come to use this space as a co-working space, but it's a multi-purpose space. There are literally people who are watching a soap opera while we're doing the interview. Yeah. So the individuals who come here for entertainment, we have a library here, we have a co-working space, and at times we do such kind of events. So it's just to create what is called that springboard for people to go to the next stage. Yeah. So welcome.
Asante sana.
Yeah. I'm called Nelson Kwaji. I'm part of the founding team for this. So I think there are a few people who there could be no one here who doesn't know you, but for the benefit of the people who don't know you, maybe you can just introduce yourself. If someone has been living under a cave for 10 years and shows up today for the event.
So you should never assume that people know you. So it's always polite to introduce yourself everywhere you go. My name is Boniface Mwangi. I'm a photographer and currently unemployed.
I wonder why.
We just lost an election, so I'm still hurting. Yani, studio's just grieving. Yeah. It's been a heavy day for us.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I promise I won't cry.
You're allowed to. I think Boniface, probably there are so many threads that one can pick your story from. But for the benefit of South Sudan and the youth here, who kind of like, we live in a situation where you can see like you've gone through the streets of Juba. We really came from a war, from a struggle, and we still have like probably third or fourth struggles that's going on. Maybe if I can tap into your story and your upbringing, and probably try to then link it into something that people here can understand.
All right. So I was born in Taveta, which is the border of Kenya and Tanzania. My mother was a trader. She used to trade between the two countries. And I was born in 1983. My mother moved to Nairobi when I was about 6. Then we moved up country. Then we moved back to Nairobi. So it was a very nomadic lifestyle. And at the age of 11, I ran away from home. I went to the streets. I became a street child. I got arrested. I was taken to a juvenile court, and I was sentenced to 7 years in prison, like a juvenile prison. It's called approved school. So I was given an inmate number. My number was 13583. Thrown into jail at the age of 11. That's where my story begins. So when I went to jail, actually, the funny thing is, guys think I'm hardcore. When I went to jail, I was given a nickname. They used to call me Softy because I was in jail with delinquents. I was in jail with guys who had either raped or killed, but they were minors, so they couldn't go to like a senior prison. So I had to go to a junior prison, that's where I was. So among those guys in prison, I was not hardcore enough like they were. So they used to call me Softy. So my childhood nickname was actually Softy.
Did you feel any pressure to kind of to overstate your credentials, your criminal credentials?
I tried, but they were stronger than me.
I think they can know. You're like, oh, I came here for murder. They'll be like,
yeah. So at the age of 11, I'm in approved school. At the age of 14, I do my KCP, like my primary school exams, so I can go to high school. The high school that I was taken to was called Kabete Approved School. Now that's why there were like more hardcore people, guys who they were bigger than me, they were stronger than me, and they used to do a lot of bad things in the school. So they were sodomizing young boys. They were just doing very mean stuff. So what I decided to do, I said I'm going to expose them. So I went home and told my mom what was going on. She said, "Are you going to do that?" I said, "I'm going to go to see the minister." So I went to see the Minister of Home Affairs. So prisons, approved schools follow under Minister of Home Affairs. So the guy told me, "Do you have any evidence?" I said, "I don't have evidence." He said, "Come back with evidence." I went back home, told my mom about it. My mom bought for me a camera that I went back to school with. I photographed, collected evidence, took the evidence to the minister, and instead of the minister acting on that information, they expelled me from an approved school.
What?
Yes. So I got kicked out. So nikafukuzwa tu shule nikaambiwa na nyumbani. So at the age of 14, my formal school ended. I became a hawker in the streets of Nairobi. I never went to high school, actually. I never finished high school.
You never finished high school?
No. Actually, I tried to finish high school and I was running for office. I went back to do my...
You could have got a certificate, my brother.
I did not want to be Sakaja. So
I mean, for those who want to know, Sakaja is the current governor of Nairobi,
yeah.
who had a huge thing about certificates and stuff like that.
Yes.
So, like, what someone who is called Softy,
yeah.
What does it take for a Softy to start a whole investigation and take stuff to the minister?
So I was very much aware. I used to love reading when I was in school. So I knew what they were doing was wrong. You know, wrong is wrong. Doesn't matter where you are. So I thought I could do something about it. And I remember one of the teachers telling me that there is nothing like human rights in Kenya. Human rights don't exist. And that was in 1998. So there was that attitude of what can you do? We've been doing this for a long time. The boys... So what happens actually even in prisons, anywhere in the world, so there's the wardens or the teachers who delegate their powers to other people, like a prefect or a trustee or a head boy or a head girl. So that delegation, so you realize that this delegated power, if you give a minor a lot of power, they're going to abuse it. And I think it's a very bad thing when adults delegate their roles to kids. Because so those kids are doing very bad things, doing very well. The teacher only trusts me and my word against you, the teacher is going to listen to me because they've given me some responsibilities. So that was the struggle of my youth. So 17, my mother dies. I decided to get saved and join Bible school. And this is why. So if you grow up in the hood and the only way to survive is either you carry a Bible or you have a job. I did not have a job, so I decided to become then go to Bible school.
I think that's an absorption of some sort.
Yeah, in a way, so that I thought I was going to become a preacher actually. Yeah. But for me, Bible school was actually a way to try and get out of trouble. And I thought I could do something about the gospel, but I changed my mind along the way.
But you didn't change. So you got absorbed out of the Bible school now.
No, I went, got a diploma. But when I was in Bible school, something interesting happened. Because I used to love taking pictures. One of my lecturers gave me a book about a photographer called Muhammad Amin, the man who moved the world. And that book opened my eyes in a very huge way. I realized I could change my life and could change people's lives using photography. And so I went back to photography. Remember, I was expelled from approved school for taking pictures, so I stopped taking pictures.
So you went back to photography, and what type of photography did you start doing?
So I actually went to school. I went to East Africa School of Journalism, studied photojournalism, became a news photographer for one of the biggest papers, The Standard in Kenya. And that began my career as a photographer. I'm still a photographer till today. Yeah.
And what lens, I mean, you have your lens as a photographer. Did that afforded you an opportunity now to see probably the worst or the best parts of life?
Yeah. So my entry into photography was interesting because I grew up in the hood. I had access to the hood. So in a way, Kenyans know me for my work in 2007 when there was post-election violence. That time, Raila Odinga was running against Kibaki. The elections were held. Kibaki was announced as the winner, controversially. And that led to bloodshed in the country. There was mayhem, there was chaos. 1,000 people were killed. And I was part of the people documenting that violence. So by doing that, Kenyans came to know about my work. Because after the violence, I did something called Picha Mtaani, a traveling exhibition, showing people the pictures and telling them never again, that should never happen again. So I did a never again series in the entire country.
And I mean, those pictures, I think those pictures kind of became like a very significant moment in your life and probably like in Kenyans, because some of them are like really horrific. Yeah,
they're very, very graphic and very gory. There's something about, and I think you guys are very aware of what violence can do and what hate can do. So the violence in our country was actually very tribal. So it was community against community, neighbors against neighbor. And we did that for politicians, something that South Sudan has done for a long time. The Dinkas and the Nuers and other communities, you fight for politicians who don't really care about you. When those were at State House here, in your State House here, how come those two leaders came out? They did not die. Your leaders will never die for you. They lead you into war, they incite you to fight, but they don't pay the price. You pay the price. And that's something we should actually discuss very openly. That at the end of the day, when you have violence, it's the poor people who suffer. You guys who are here, some of you are very posh kids, nothing will happen to you. You have passports. Going by the accent.
I didn't go by the accent. But yeah, that's true to some extent. I mean, that's my biggest kind of joke to the NGOs here. And I've seen this. There is a huge billboard along the roundabout going to, it's written, "Stop cattle raiding." I'm like,
that's culture.
I don't know, but I'm like, why us? Really go to the cattle like by the time someone is driving along the streets, they're really not doing cattle raiding.
They're not cattle rustlers at all. Yeah, that's true.
They're not cattle rustlers and stuff like that. But of course, a lot of us who preach to the converted and stuff. You have a larger than life personality online, at least. You're so known, so renowned. How do you deal with that? What do you do with that? Or how do you deal with it?
So you have no privacy in a way. If you make a mistake, it's amplified. If you have a typo, it's amplified. People don't allow you or give you the grace to make mistakes. And it can be a very bad thing. But on the other hand, I'm able to use my influence for the greater good. I call myself the people's watchman. So I mostly use my platform to highlight people's problems. But the last 3 months I was using to campaign for Raila Odinga. Man, we tried, man.
But what, probably at the risk of making this into a political podcast, what do you make of that? Because some people, I hear things online, people like saying, oh, Raila was cast, whatever, he's never meant, because there is, as someone anyone who is not even a political genius will know that this was the last This was the last bullet. this was and I was jokingly saying, like, Baba, leave that place, we'll come and make you president, either in Uganda or here. Even if it's for a month. Wow. But that was the last bullet. How comes that just went?
We were very overconfident. We behaved like we had won the elections. And then we underestimated our opponents. We did not do the hard work of mobilizing. Baba was running for the last time. Luo Nyanza, where he comes from, 30% did not vote. 8 million Kenyans did not vote in this election. Those are more than elected Ruto.
Because the margin was very small,
200,000 votes, yeah. Imagine if every county had 10,000 people voting. I think it's such a tragedy for his political career to end like that. It's such a tragedy. But the problem I have with our campaign team, Raila never learned lessons from his previous runs. Like, he lost on the same grounds, even if it's controversial, in 2007, 2013, 2017. You must learn those lessons. The other thing about politicians, they like having yes people around them and sycophants. So you find that technocrats are not listened to. I used to send messages every day to people on the team telling them, please do this, please do that. They just blue tick me.
How far were you from Raila in terms of if people to line up here, people in the campaign, you're number what?
No. So I was close to the deputy. I was deputy Mother Karua. So I was working for the deputy, and I would see her almost every day and talk to her every day. I even talked to her. I spoke to her yesterday. So I talked to her every other day. But I just did a very reflective article, and I've been removed from all WhatsApp groups. and I've been kicked out. And
like the both, I've seen this online, both Raila's account and the account for Mother Karo have been blocking allies left, right, and center.
Let me tell you, people experience trauma in a different way. People are grieving, man. I spoke to someone today and she said she hasn't left the bed. She's suicidal. Actually, this thing is very devastating. Remember this. Raila Odinga was involved in a coup in 1982. That's over 40 years ago. There are people who have worked with Raila Odinga from jail in 82 until now. This was their moment. So imagine waiting for 40 years and you smell it and you see it, but you can't touch it. That's heartbreaking. There are guys who are depressed right now because when you're running for public office, people fund you or support you, hoping that they'll get a reward one day or they'll cash those favors one day. But now they could see it here, but they'll never cash those favors. It's over. There are people whose life depended on Raila Odinga, and now he's retiring. What do? In a way, some people's lives are coming to an end because Baba's dream died.
I mean, it's interesting you mentioned 40 years, and he's always said he's Joshua and he's leading people to Canaan. And the Israelite. He spent 40 years in the desert.
Be kind.
I mean, I'm laughing like this. I have a lot of. I'm actually a Baba supporter. So it's.
Then stop the shade.
Yeah, because you look at 40 years and then 40 years in the desert. But also, what I realize with Kenyan elections and elections anywhere in the continent, when you lose, you lose.
Bro, you lose.
Like people are taking from all those cabinet ministers. People will take the cars, they will take the houses, they will ensure that you lose properly.
Bro, your phone stops ringing. People don't ask you for favor. There's a cabinet minister called Bitangen Demo. He was a permanent secretary in Kibaki's government. And when Kibaki government came to an end, his phone stopped ringing. He actually took the phone to a shop to find out if it was still working.
And he realized people just never...
Yeah, there's a guy called Fred Matiang'i. He was the interior secretary. Yeah. He has deleted his Twitter account.
Because people are going to roast. And Fred Matiang'i is not just a permanent secretary. He was almost the second in command in the country.
Fred Matiang'i was the one who Uhuru replaced Ruto with. Like he became the second in command in the country. The man has deleted his Twitter account today. He's like, I don't want to be trolled anymore. You know, Kenyans on Twitter are very vicious. We made our president delete his Twitter account.
Yes, he deleted his Twitter account.
Actually, all his accounts, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, he left.
When people look at you and people say like, I mean, they say it in different types of words, but there is a version of the statement "you sold out" that keeps coming up.
Yeah.
What do you say to that?
What statement?
That you sold out.
I sold out. I sold it to who? Was there an auction? You know, Kenyans are kind of foolish.
Okay.
And this is why. So they feel like they own me and they don't. They feel like I'm their property. I am not. They feel like I work for them. I don't. Because no one pays me. The guys asking for accountability from me don't pay me to do anything. The people they pay in public office, and they don't hold them accountable. Someone actually said online that if the Kenyans held their leaders to the same standards they hold me, Kenya would be a different country. Because Kenyans demand things from me that I'm not supposed to give them. Like I don't get paid to do what I do.
Because people reach out to your DM and say like, my employer is mistreating me.
Yes, and then I help them out, then tomorrow they insult me. It's a thankless job.
Yeah, I mean, Boniface also like, there has been a recent incident that is actually a very hurtful incident.
The car crash.
The car crash, and I think the video surface of you're very annoyed at the hospital.
Yes.
And people said, why are you annoyed? Why can't you have decorum at such a moment? And I saw that and then I was like, wow, these people really want this guy to behave as if he's in the presence of the Queen or something.
No, it's actually, so everyone gets angry. You have an accident along Langata Road. We get robbed. I get to the hospital. We don't have any money, no ID, nothing. And they can't treat my wife without money. And I thought she was dying. She was in and out of consciousness. And I lost my mind. I broke computers. I broke many things. They called the police with guns. I told them I don't fear guns. I told them to fuck off. And then there was so much drama. Then luckily I found my wife's phone. My wife was wearing tight clothes, so she was wearing jeans. So I called a friend of mine. Eventually, we actually had to pay for my wife to get treatment. But when they were paying, I was already in the police cells school.
Oh, you're already in a police cell.
I was thrown in jail for the night.
I guess like that is not a very unfamiliar scene
No,
for you.
me, I'm not afraid of jail. You know, there are two things I'm not afraid of actually. I'm not afraid of jail and death. So you can't come here and threaten you're gonna kill me. So what? Say when I die. Say I'm dead. So if you're gonna arrest me, so you're gonna throw me in a cell, then what? You know, these threats people throw around, they don't bother me at all.
Okay, then what are you afraid of?
Nothing.
Spiders?
What's my biggest fear? I think my biggest fear is failure. I fear failing. I grew up poor, so one thing about poverty is very degrading, and poverty is very violating. I think the worst form of violence is poverty, because poverty strips you of your dignity. And so since I've been running away from poverty, my poverty wakes me up every day. I don't need an alarm clock. My poorness, if there's a word like that. I don't want to be poor, man. I don't want to struggle, man. So I work very, very hard. So I fear poverty, bro. I fear.
So a lot of us.
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine. I hope he doesn't watch this podcast or this video. He also kind of came up from such kind of background, and he's like one of those tech developers in Kenya. Those mobile apps, whatever. You know how those guys get money.
Yeah.
And then he got so much cash, and then us, we were living like in Ngong Road up, and he was like, no, I don't want to do this. He said like, I want to spend money in a very, like I want to live in a posh place because that makes me work harder. so he went, he was like, I showed up with him, he was like renting a 2-bedroom apartment. He's a single guy. The other room is totally empty.
For his ego.
Yeah.
So he sleeps here and the ego sleeps in the other room.
Yeah. And he had something I've never seen a guy have. He had, what do you call that thing? I've only seen only white people having it. Had the wine thing where you place
a wine cellar.
Yeah. And then he had different kind of like alcohol in them, and he's like, I want to do mixology, whatever kind of things. I'm like, okay. And this brother was like spending in Nairobi probably like close to 200K per month or 100 and something K per month on that. And then I'm like, for me, I'm like, okay, maybe I don't know how to do these things. But then things hit him, and they kicked him out of the house, and they auctioned everything.
He was living above his means.
Yep. And then I was like, yeah, I don't know.
So there must be a balance. So there's one of the things about poverty. It can either motivate you to try and make a difference, which I try and do every day, and make some money for myself, or you can become like the leaders of your country and my country, who are very greedy. They're stealing everything. South Sudan is a very small country, population-wise, but vast in land, and you have oil. But there's so much poverty. You know, I came to this country for the first time in 2006.
Wow.
After the peace accord, and there was no buildings actually. We used to sleep in tents and pay $150 a night. I was coming here as a journalist. And I remember those times. And now this country has progressed. There's oil money, there's donor money, but the money is going in the pockets of a few individuals. And that's now when you have a poverty mentality. That's what you do. You hoard, and you get everything for yourself. But you can actually come from poverty and say, how can I make a difference in other people's lives? So collecting wines is an ego thing. So I just want to show that maybe I'm classy, but you can become a collector because of maybe it's the work that you do. So I'm not saying that I fear poverty, so I want to amass. I fear poverty, so I work hard. But I also work hard to make a difference, because I believe that every single person must impact other people's lives, that your life is not your own, that you must make a difference in whatever area you do. Imani is doing music. Amani, right?
Amani, yeah.
Amani is doing music. In her music, she'll make a difference. Even if she sings her entire life and only one song changes one person's life, she has lived her life. Yeah. That's enough impact. So you don't need to look things at a huge scale. Look it in a small way. How can I make a difference in my everyday life? You're a parent. Yeah. Not like a real parent, as you said.
I am kind of a parent.
Yeah, you're kind of a parent, right?
Parent.
But you are making a difference by ensuring that a child goes through school. So that's what human life is about.
I mean, this country is very interesting because, you know, the wealth in this country, because we don't have things to spend on, because there is no much luxury here. The two most
The
expensive
kind of
hotels,
cars.
the two most expensive hotels are just behind us here, Pyramid and Radisson Blu.
Yes.
So if you, the most amount of expense that you can do in a hotel is here. So, and then there is not so much. There are nightclubs. So then what happens with that wealth? So rich people need to tell you that they have money. So then that has to go to cars, because I think cars is the most obvious thing that people can see here.
Yeah.
So I think South Sudanese, even if they release an experimental car, it's still, they're not yet selling it. South Sudanese will order it, bring it here.
It lands here.
It lands here. And even here, like, really, this city from end to end, you can drive from end to end of this city in less than an hour.
Juba is actually not a city. Juba is a ghetto.
Okay, you know, I live here.
It's true.
I live here. I don't want my
You
passport
have
to
a
be
very nice
drawn.
posh building, then
Yeah.
you have a shanty, then you have a...
It's a very tricky thing.
And it's you guys had a very good mayor who you kicked out so fast.
he went and the problem he started. He went and started demolishing witchcraft places. And, yeah, he said like, we don't want these guys to do witchcraft, and then people were like, don't do it.
He was moving Juba from a ghetto to a city.
Yeah.
Then you took him back. You took it back to the ghetto. I think it's a shame that the two things that we in this country is education and health. When people are educated and they're good health, they build a country. And so I think the biggest investment that this country should do, okay, and then infrastructure as the last thing. But you need to invest in schools, even if it's getting teachers here, building schools in every state, ensuring kids get access to school and they get food in school, and when they fall sick, they don't die. There's a hospital. Once you fix to those two things, the country will progress, because the biggest power we have as human beings is knowledge, our intellect. So this country will progress the more people get educated, because the more they get educated, the more powerful the country becomes, because now they fix the country.
Boniface, you should get Baba, sell him that manifesto, come here, you guys should take this.
I will die here. You know, I'm a founding member of Wanataban.
Yeah.
This country, and I love South Sudan. You know?
It's a very, I think this country is very amazing, because I tell people, like, this is one of the most cosmopolitan places in the world. Like, you come here, I found someone from Kosovo, from what, I'm like, what are you doing here?
Making money.
Okay, let's take some questions. Let's take some questions, and then we can then we'll close it with a performance from Amani. I definitely think this audience has a lot of questions. So you can just raise your hand. We have the mic here, and Aban will pass you the mic if you have any question to Boniface, who has just lost an election. So
Raila lost.
hey man, it is what it is.
It hurts, man.
Yeah. Okay. Just say your name and then you can ask your question. We can turn one light. Actually, that's the way. Yep, this one. Yeah.
Boni niaje.
Niaje mzee, niaje.
My name is Danson. Because we were just on a political talk, I just wanted to ask you a political question.
Yes.
In 2017, you ran for a parliamentarian office for Stare, and you didn't make it. Then in 2022, you decided not to run. Yeah. I don't know, is it because you realized that politics is not your thing, or you just want to remain as an activist? And then the second one is that today there was swearing in Kenya. We saw that Raila said he's not in the country. Martha was playing golf somewhere. Are you intentionally here, or you didn't want to be part of it?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Let's handbrake.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. Cool. I think Bonnie, you can answer and then we can take.
All right. So in 2017, I vied. I did not win. And then along the way, I made a promise to my wife that I will not vie in 2022. And I had to keep that promise. I was almost going to vie, but I realized that my last born is 11 years old, and in another 5 years, they're gonna be teenagers on their way out of the house. My son is leaving the house in 2 years to go to the UK for university. That means I have a very small window to be a dad. And what's unfortunate about our politics, it's a full-time job to a level where you spend your best waking moments with strangers. When you have energy, you're not at home. You come home to sleep and you're very tired, so you're never a present parent. So I decided I'm gonna become a dad for the next 5 years, raise my kids. When they're out of the house, which is in 5 years, then I can become a full-time politician. So there's a plan. So in 5 years, my last born is gonna be 16, and at 17 or 18 is gonna go to campus. So the nest will be empty, and I can do politics full-time.
Are you telling us you're not having kids?
No, unless you want me to adopt you. Because you're a dad, I can become your dad as well.
That's the way to go.
Yeah, I left Kenya intentionally. I was like, I'm not going to be in the country and this happening. So I came to Juba. I said, I don't need a visa to come here.
Yeah.
Let me come and chill by the River Nile.
Hey, that's the way to go. I think there's a hand here. We can just pass the mic here, Aban. The lady in blue. Come on, guys! You cannot be rewarding your friends. Okay. Let's hear from the gentleman with the mask.
Good afternoon. My name is Bol Pasquale. I'm a content creator, a photographer as well. So there's a guy who is my uncle. He was like appointed as some guy in politics, the government place. So he called me. He's like, my nephew, you can come and join me in my office, be the press photographer of my office, and I'm going to pay you good money. So you said that you have been the photographer of Madame Karua. So what was it? Was it something you chose, or you were selected just because of being close to it, or you did it just because there's good money inside?
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you take another question?
Yeah, let's take another question. Here. I think we can take 2 more so. Can you use this light this side? Okay, it's okay. Okay, it's fine.
Good evening. My name is Nyashang Kwaktai, and just listening to you, Boniface, your experience, especially with the school and the things other boys do in school, gave me some kind of goosebumps and fear, knowing that I'm a mother to 2 boys who are studying in Kenya. Hearing all these stories about, rape, molesting children in South Sudan few months ago, I felt like a mother who is not at home full-time. I have to be, coaching my kids over the phone to tell them to report such incidents. And what breaks my heart is the fact that you try to fight actually for those victims and the system shuts you down. So my question is, as a father currently, you might be a father who experienced something like this, in your young age, what is it that you're doing right now to make sure that your kids and other kids who are the age mates of your kids do not go through the same horrific experiences, or at least if something like that happens, how do they get justice? Thank you.
We take one more, or we answer?
Okay.
Yeah. You can just come. You can walk here, so it's closer to the camera. And then we'll come. After this, we'll take another round, and we'll wrap it up.
Thank you. I am Madol Sheikh. Probably my voice will be shaking, cracking, just because I've also lost the elections.
So sorry, man. Sorry, man.
But
How did you lose from here, my brother?
On a serious note, I came here avoiding the televisions, all these kind of things that are happening in Kenya, so that I could come and condole with him. Unfortunately, I found people again talking about politics, and it pains, it hurts, honestly. But anyhow, the reality is that we lost. But again, what I want to ask Mwangi is that he is a known activist, and it is a fact that you have had your say about South Sudan and how things are running. You have known this. We are trying here, But again, I believe there is much to be done, much as the politicians are trying to have the networks from South Sudan and the other parts of the region. We who are in the activism would also want to have the link together so that what you have in Kenya has the experience could be translated in this country and it can help. I mean, the experience you have could be so much important here to make the activism grow. So what I want to say is that why can't you have the connection? And it is really important that you have come here so that we listen to you. It's so much encouraging, and I would want us to do more than this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And you can answer.
So I wasn't a photographer for the Mother Karua team. I was one of the strategists on communication. But I enjoy photography, and I'm an expensive photographer. So when I take pictures, I get paid well. But I love taking pictures. So first it's passion, then your passion pays you, not the other way around. So don't follow money. Just work on your passion. As a mother and as a parent, I hear you, and it's a very big concern that our kids safe when they go to school. So I don't like boarding schools. My kids will never go to boarding until they go to campus. When our kids were young, we taught them about body positivity. They know their body parts. They know that not even me or their mother can touch particular places. So there's those boundaries that you teach your kids early enough. Also, give your child the confidence and the love to tell you anything. Me and my daughter, I think on my Instagram there's a video of me and my daughter talking about periods, and she was 11 or 12, turning 12, and I was joking about, I said, tomorrow is your birthday. I told her I'm very excited. Then said, Dad, I know what you're going to say. I said, what? Then I'll start bleeding from my vagina. I said, no, but I was happy she was comfortable to talk about her vagina in my presence. And so it's important that you let your kids know their bodies properly. So if there's most of the assault, sexual assault, is not from strangers. It's people that you know, an uncle, an auntie, a deranged parent, just people around your kids who they trust. And so they need to learn those things. And then in terms of other things that I do with my kids, our kids do boxing 3 times a week. Actually, plus my wife. I'm the only one who doesn't box because I'm not supposed to fight. Because if I fight in Kenya, I'll be arrested and jailed. So me, I can't fight. Even self-defense for me is a problem. If I raise my voice, people say Boniface Mwangi is protesting or heckling people. So, but my family, all of them know how to fight. So it's something that actually should take up. I'm so sure there's the gyms in Juba. I think every single person alive should know how to throw a punch, even if it's just one good punch. It's true. You don't start being beaten and then you start crying there. Softy style. The question about collaboration, I've collaborated with a lot of South Sudanese activists. I'll not mention the names here, lest they get picked by the guys from the Blue House. Is it called the Blue House? I don't ever get picked because they're my friends. So I have some in the audience that I have trained. I trained the first cohort of Anataban. I came up with Anataban, collected with them. We even did a song about it. So there's collaboration. The challenge you have in this country is that there's no space for expression. It's very small space, and then you have the lone gunman who is always shooting people. Oh, the lone gunman. So there's a lot of that. And so it has forced activists in this country to operate underground. There's also what your people say, that this country has no tear gas, no water cannons, you only have bullets. And that actually is a reason why education is very important. Because if the police and the ministers are educated enough to understand that it's every person's right to protest when they want to protest, they don't just let you guys protest and go home. But they won't, because they're afraid of protesters. So there's that relationship, but it's very underground for the safety of the people who live in this country.
Okay, I'll take the last round so that we can have the performance. Why don't you ask him via WhatsApp, the two of you?
Let him ask.
Or now these are the people that I'm exposing from underground.
He wants to overthrow the government.
All right, man. Welcome to Juba. And
Thank you, man.
it's good seeing you again. I know asking these political questions gets so depressing because there's been a long period of campaigns and you put all your energy into it, and a lot of people were really looking forward to seeing Baba at the State House, but it didn't happen, of which, again, it's fate, man. So sometimes things happen. I just want to, I read your reflection on the whole process and how it happened. But the question is, like, didn't Baba and Martha realize that, you know, I mean, there's a question of people saying that it was a long con, you know, that Uhuru literally like con Baba and Mama and all that stuff. So it's a question of why did it take long for it to be realized at the D-Day when, you know, there's some announcement that's being done now. And my second question is with regards to democracy. We have seen the state of affairs in Uganda, Kenya now. We saw what happened to Kiza Besigye. We've seen now what is happening to, what has happened to Baba, and, you know, so many other countries within the region. I wouldn't mention my country for now. But
You postponed elections.
but yes, what does that one mean to democracy in the region? Like, you know, what does it, what kind of reflection does it have for us, for people who are trying to fight for democracy? Let's say, for instance, you, Boniface, when you get back into politics, possibly in the next 5 years, should it always take us, like, you know, 40 years and, you know, 30 years and retire, not getting any state of, you know, democracy and rule of law being realized in a country? I mean, what does that mean for us?
Okay. I think there is another hand here. It's the same, huh? Okay.
Thank you, Bono. Welcome to South Sudan. It's the second time I'm meeting you.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's a question anyway, similar to Bull, but do you think Raila Odinga lost election because this was seemed like a transparent election when it was started? Because he picked Martha Karua, because I think we are trying to understand that the world is being defined in a way, especially the leadership is being defined in a way that it has to be men kind of, but of course not in Africa, maybe in the West where they have difficulties. And that's why Donald Trump took American presidency, because they did not find themselves that they are ready for a female president. So do you think there was something that contributed apart from other factors? Do you think Martha Karua being a running mate or Baba as a factor also?
I'll just take the last one. Ngong, you can walk here so that it's easier.
Hello, Bonnie. Hey, Niaje Bwana Rambe Stars, I can see it right there.
Hey, man.
Hey, that's good. I operate from a different angle. I see you from the book side of your life. Could you tell us maybe the key ideas in Unbounded? And I see people talking like things that are like controversial, no, paradoxical. Maybe just few light from the book. Thank you. Yeah. And to my sister here also, big ups, man. Like Jordan Peterson came up in a talk, man. That was heavy. Like to me, that was good. So maybe back to the book, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, there is.
We were just moving the line.
Just moving the line. I mean, so yeah, let's you can answer those and then we'll do the performance.
So it's true. There's.
Okay, you're there.
Oh. I love you, man. Protesting right there.
Yeah.
Very
yes,
good.
I was down there. So I'm a bit under weather. I'm feeling sick. So, but I have this one question.
Okay.
How do we invoke civic consciousness in this context? Because the level of apathy is beyond. So how do we invoke that?
All right. That's a very powerful question. That's it. So it was burning. So democracy in the region actually is dead. Kenya, at least, The beauty of our country is that we have a constitution that is very strong. So and Kenyans paid the price for where we are today. In the 1980s, a gathering like this needed a license. If you don't have a license, you get arrested. You couldn't gather 2 or 3 people without permission. And you get arrested, you're thrown in jail, and it was detention without trial. So guys would go to jail 5-6 years without being taken to court. There was solitary confinement. People disappeared, and people were murdered during those days. And because of that price that was paid back in the 80s, Kenya have a bit of space in the country to express themselves. And then in 2010, after the violence of 2007, we got a new constitution that the separation of power, that's why we have a very strong judiciary. So there's that. So Kenya doesn't worry me much. What worries me is you have Uganda with Museveni, he has been there for almost 40 years. You have Burundi, that is somewhat a democracy. You have Kagame, who was overstayed. Now he's in 20-something years. You have Abiy Ahmed in Ethiopia. You have Somalia, which is you get a bunch of men in a room, you bribe them, they elect you. Suluhu in Tanzania, which is a continuation of Magufuli. You have Congo, Tshisekedi, who is just not doing anything. Then you have South Sudan, which has postponed elections, and it's very, very sad. But the beauty of this country now, or your strength, is that the people who are there are old. So may God visit some people and you know that back in the days in Kenya, it was actually a crime to imagine the president dying. It was about the lady. No, I think Martha is the reason why Raila got so many votes. She was a breath of fresh air to the ticket. Raila and Martha got almost 1 million votes from Central, which would have been impossible without Mother in the ticket. And she galvanized that ticket. So it was a very good combination. But we failed to guard our votes. We failed to protect our votes. We failed to convince people who did not vote to vote. 8 million people did not vote. That's such a huge number. So we failed, and that hurts a lot. And I feel my brother who says he's still hurting, man. We're hurting. His question was, no, not the book. I'm trying to.
There was another question.
Yes, the one who said he's still hurting, the one who's hurting about elections.
That was a previous question.
Oh, that was a previous question.
Yeah.
And I'm getting old. I need a drink. So the book. So I wrote a book called Boniface Mwangi and Bounded. It was chronicling my journey from the days of the freedom fighters. My grandfather was a Mau Mau, and he was jailed for 6 years. Then my mother was born, and the journey from where I came from. And along the way, I told the Kenyan story from those days, and I put some of my best pictures in that book. So it's the journey of me from my grandfather to how I got to where I am today. So it's basically an autobiography. It has a lot of pictures because I'm a photographer, and I hope to write another deeper book without pictures in the coming years. I think we should write our stories. It's very important. If you do not define yourself, people will define you. So define yourself. Decide how you want people to see you, and write that story about yourself. This country had a struggle for a long time, and some of the people in those struggles are dying. The people who are either grandfather, grandmother, or uncle, aunties, start documenting them, record them. Go with your phone, do a video. My mother died in 2000. I can remember how her voice sounded in my head, but I don't have a single recording of my mother speaking. I don't have any. So you're lucky if your mother or father is alive, record them. Have those things that you can play down the road when they're gone. So have those things, chronicle your journey, tell your stories. It's very important. Document, take pictures. Ask them how it was 20, 30 years ago in Juba. Because one of the things about a struggle is informed by stories. You fight because you had a story, and that story keeps you going. That's why that struggle, if you look at when the Queen died, the Irish people came out to celebrate. The Irish people have been fighting the English for over 1,000 years. Over 1,000 years. They don't even have freedom yet. There's someone, when the war began, it's year 10,000. We're in 2022. But every generation someone is born and told, we shall one day defeat the British. And I'm so sure the guys who were born in 60s said, we shall one day defeat Khartoum. And eventually you won. So those are the stories that you need to document so that it informs the struggle that you are involved in this country. There's no long con. I think we failed ourselves. I don't think Uhuru conned them, because I think Uhuru was very bitter with Ruto. Is that Uhuru gave Raila support, but Uhuru is not a strategist. Uhuru is not brilliant. Uhuru is a drunk. He would call for meetings and not show up, just like a president. Uhuru Kenyatta would call for meetings and don't show up. He'd get people in a room, instead of talking about what you're going to do, he lectures them. Half of the time the man was drunk. Even the week of the election, he couldn't be found anywhere. He was not to be found, he was just drinking himself silly. So he failed. Let me tell you, no matter how much money you have, you can't replace, money can't buy competence. Like you can't, if you get incompetent people and give them money, they don't become competent. So what we did, we had money, but we gave sycophants and incompetent people very important roles to play. And they let us down. Let me tell you, a pig can't give you milk. It will not give you milk. If you want milk, go and buy a cow. So guys don't just come and milk pigs and cats. How do you do that? You can't. It's sad when I talk about that story because it's still unraveling. The story about apathy. How do you deal with apathy? You need to give people a reason to fight. People don't just fight for something. And when I talk about fight, I'm not talking about violence. I'm talking about fighting about things that you believe in. A struggle for equality, equity, justice, human rights, good governance. People fight because they know that there's a fruit at the end of the day, or there's going to be a result from the struggle. So people need to see what will happen if the fight is realized or when you win. So there's a story about hope. You need to tell them hope. You need to tell them that if we have a new constitution, this will happen. If we have elections and you replace some of these leaders, we might elect better leaders who are going to serve us better, not buy cars and build mansions. That's the reason why you need to find why. You need to find a why narrative. The other thing is you need to tell them the stories about the heroes of the liberation. Because as human beings, to get our true north, we must look at our past. So tell them about the stories of the guys who came before you guys. The guys who ensured that you got freedom from the Arabs. Tell them those stories, inspire them. Every movement or religion is a story. Muhammad is a story about Allah. Christianity is a story about Jesus and God. Buddhism is about Buddha. Everything is about a story. Get the story for why you want people to stop being apathetic. Tell them if they're with less apathy, there'll be more civic action, and more civic action is going to give birth to thieves. The people need to see the result of what they're fighting for. So find that story, craft it very well, tell that story. A movement begins with one person. When I began protesting, I was alone in 2009. Now I'm part of a movement. So when you begin, you have to do the hard work of building a movement. Is a very slow thing. Jesus was preaching for 3 years. He had 12 disciples who changed the world. You don't need a multitude to change a country. You just need committed people. Fidel Castro got into power with 70 people. But one of his regrets said there were too many of them. He said a lesser number committed is better than huge numbers. So don't look at change in terms of multitudes and crowds. If you were winning the elections about crowds, we'd have won this election. We had very big crowds. So don't let crowds deceive you. Get committed individuals who will become the catalyst for change, who will light the first candle that will light many other hundreds of candles. So start with your light and shine it so bright, and then the people will be inspired to shine their light, and collectively can just get darkness out of our continent. Thank you very much.
Boniface Mwangi, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you very much.